This is my April TBR and it is, as always, very ambitious. I haven't really managed to give myself much variety this month because I am determined to carry on with and finish some series. Things aren't looking good in terms of variety, and that means that I will probably try and fit some other kinds of genres in here, in amongst all of the fantasy and sci-fi, because that's definitely my focus in this TBR. I do have a separate TBR coming up in a couple of weeks because it's due as 24-hour readathon, and for that I will be reading like romance, thrillers, contemporary, because that's what I do in the 24-hour readathon. But I haven't included any of those books here because I'm not sure what kind of mood I'm going to be in, which books I'll want to read. I normally decide a couple of days before the readathon because obviously I'm a mood reader and I don't know what I'm going to be in the mood for in a couple of weeks' time. So here are a bunch of fantasy books, sci-fi books, and, well, actually maybe one contemporary fiction book that I would really like to read in April. I do have one day off, I think, in April, and I might book more. Without further ado, let's just get started. I don't really know where to start, so I'm just going to pick at random. The first one that I would really like to read is The Rage of Dragons. This is a chunky fantasy book, but I've heard such good things about it, and I think I will fly through it. So this seems to be like a gladiator-esque kind of fantasy, which turns into a revenge story. I don't think there are any dragons in this book, but dragons may be like legendary, and I don't know if they're going to come back later on in the series. I have heard that there are very poor female characters in this first one, but hopefully that improves throughout the series. The back says that this is set in a world caught in an eternal war. One young man will become his people's only hope for survival. Game of Thrones meets Gladiator in Neverwinter's The Rage of Dragons. This started out as a self-publishing sensation and then became an epic fantasy debut. It doesn't really tell me anything about the synopsis on the back, which is annoying. It's kind of giving me Spartacus vibes as well, so slave rebellion stuff, and I really enjoy that as a concept. So I'm looking forward to reading this one, and I'm kind of tempted to start it now, and I'm recording this still in March, so I don't know, maybe by the time you've seen this video I'll already have started it. But it sounds very, very good, and I've had rave reviews about this. This will be the first series that I'm starting. I also want to start Infinity Gate. This is the first in the Pandemonium series. It's a sci-fi series about kind of world hopping and multiverse stuff. I'm really into sci-fi at the moment, but I've not been picking enough of it up. I don't really know why. I picked this one up when it came out in paperback, and I'm so looking forward to it. It says here that infinity is only the beginning. The Pandemonium, a political and trading alliance of millions of worlds, except they are really just the one world, Earth, in many different realities. An AI threat arises that could destroy everything. Scientists are looking for a solution. Their Earth is maybe collapsing. I think this sounds fantastic. I love time travel-y, interdimensional stuff, so I cannot wait to read this one. I haven't heard really good things, but I've not heard bad things either, and the second book is coming out sometime this summer, so this is really good timing for me to start this one. I also want to finish off the Incendiary series. This one is book 2. It's Illusionary. This is just a duology, and I've really enjoyed the first book. I read it about 3-4 years ago. Yeah, I remember it being really good. It's a YA fantasy, and I can't remember much about the plot, to be honest, so I can't really tell you anything in case I spoil the first one, but I remember there being a really good ship. I think I cried a little bit at the end of the first one. It says here that the main character is wielded as a weapon, and now it's her time to fight back. Yeah, I don't remember any of this, so I'm gonna have to read my recap up on Recaptains because I have no idea what happened in the first book. It's been so long, but the first one was a really quick read, so I think this will be as well, and I hope I really like it. I'm also going to hopefully at some point this year be finishing off the Unwind quartets by Neil Shusterman. I've read books 1, 2 and 3. I just need to read book 4, but in order to remember what happened I'm going to be rereading from the first book. This is Unwind, and this is a sci-fi dystopian book. He published this before he published Scythe, which is also a sci-fi dystopian book. He always tackles really interesting topics. So this one is set in a world in which abortion has been abolished, at least pre-birth abortion has. Turns out in this world you can choose to have your child unwound before they reach, I think it's 16 or 18, and that basically means you have to give birth to them, but you can then donate their organs, limbs, skin and stuff to other people, and that's what's called unwinding. So you're basically, the person is taken apart and distributed, and it's really grim and disturbing, but it's such an interesting concept, and I really enjoyed this one. When I first read it, I've, like I said, read the first 3, and it's a really, really strong series. I don't know why the tagline for this is before the Hunger Games there was Unwind, because it's nothing like the Hunger Games. It's just a dystopian book, and that's probably why the tagline is there. It says here that 3 runaways fight the system that could unwind them, brought together by chance and kept together by desperation. These unlikely companions make a harrowing cross-country journey, knowing their lives hang in the balance. If they can survive until their 18th birthday, they can't be harmed. So yeah, it's 18 that you can be unwound until. So I'm really looking forward to getting my hands back on this one and finishing off the series at some point, but I'm only going to be reading the first book in April. Switching things up again, I'm going to pick up Foundation, which is obviously a classic sci-fi. I've had this one for a little while. I got it from a charity shop a few years ago. I don't actually know anything about it. I've never been spoiled for this series, which is amazing. I don't even know how long the series is. It says here that the Galactic Empire has prospered for 12,000 years. Nobody suspects that the heart of the thriving empire is rotting until psychohistorian Harry uses his new science to foresee its terrible fates. Exiled to a desolate planet, Harry establishes a colony of the greatest minds in the Empire, a foundation which holds the key to changing the fates of the galaxy. This sounds so interesting, and I hope it's a really easy read, and I hope that I love it so I can carry on with the series. And also I want to watch the TV show, which it says here it's on Apple Plus. And it came out 3 years ago now. And again, I've not been spoiled. I don't know how this has happened, so I'm really excited. Next, I really want to start this series. It starts with the Wolf of Oraro, and it's the first in the Chronicles of the Bitch Queen series, which I love the title of. This is set in a fantasy world kind of post-war, and the main character is kind of trying to hold everything together. I think she's trying to unite the divided land that she perhaps has conquered, or her husband has, or something, and she also has to go and try to find her husband, who is currently missing. I think this one sounds fantastic, and if I love it, I'm going to hopefully binge read the whole series because it sounds very promising. I also want to carry on with this series by Kristen Cashore. This one is Bitter Blue, and it's the third book in whatever series this is. Maybe just the Graceling series, but I feel like it's called something else. I loved the first 2 books when I read them. Graceling is fantastic, and I really enjoyed Fire as well. I've just had this one sat on my shelf, not this exact edition because this is quite new, but this book has been on my TBR for the longest time, and I've now got the follow-up book, Winterkeep, I think it's called. So if I love this one, I can go straight into Winterkeep if I want to, and it just sounds so good. I remember reading about Bitter Blue, who is the main character in this one, in the previous books, or just in Graceling, I think, and was really intrigued by the whole world, the setting, how the land has been left now that certain things have happened. So this is set 8 years on from Graceling, and Graceling is set in a world where people have certain graces, which are basically powers, and I'm curious to see whether these abilities carry over into this one, or if this is more kind of like a progressive society where people don't really use their magic that much anymore. Really interested, and I can't wait to read this one. Another series that I want to start, can you see what the theme is here? The Powder Mage Trilogy. This is Promise of Blood, and I've been told this is absolutely epic. So this main character here, I think it's him. He killed the previous king, and now the Age of Kings is over. The kingdom has been overthrown, and it's basically now set in a world that is trying to figure out what to do now that the king is dead. It says here that there are rumours of broken promises, omens of death, and the gods returning to walk the earth. Surely nobody really believes these old legends. Perhaps they should. So I think it's about magic kind of coming back into the world, maybe, now that the king is dead. So I've heard such good things about this in the spin-off, so I'm really looking forward to trying it. I read the first chapter a little while ago and really was intrigued. I'm really trying to get back into my fantasy era, so to speak, because I've got so many first books on my fantasy shelf that I just really need to get a move on and decide which series I want to carry on with. I started this project kind of in January, and I read 2 fantasy books back then, and I am very interested in carrying on with those series, so I'm really pleased about that. And now I just want to dig into more and see what I want to read before I bring even more fantasy books into my house. A fantasy series that I'm trying to finish is the Crown of Feathers series. It ends with Wings of Shadow. I adored the first book, which is about Phoenix Riders, and I gave that one 5 stars, and I gave the second, I think, 1 star or 2 stars. It just wasn't good. It was so boring. So I'm not sure if I'm going to finish this. It may just be a DNF, but I want to give it a go now while I still remember what happened in the second book, because I haven't done a recap of it because I was falling asleep while I was reading it, and I just want to know once and for all, and then I can get this off my shelf if I don't like it because it's such a chunky book, and then I can count it as a series completed, because I don't want to DNF it like straight off the bat. I want to give it maybe 50 pages to see if it's going to grip me, and then maybe I'll read the last few chapters to see how it ends. I don't have high hopes for this one, but I'm glad that I'm finishing another series. And then I also have 2 library books that I want to focus on. I am reading a lot more books from the library in April because I'm trying to read all of the Women's Prize books, and I'm getting all of those from the library, at least for the most part, the ones that are available. But these are 2 non-Women's Prize books that I wanted to talk about. The first one being The Foxwife. I don't really know what it's about. It just came out, and it was on my new releases video, and I saw that my library had purchased it, and I was like, why not? Let's just pick it up, because it sounds like something that I would really enjoy going by my new releases video. It says here that it's epic in scope and full of singular, unforgettable characters. It's a stunning novel about old loves and second chances, the depth of maternal bonds and ancient folk tales that may well No, may very well be true. So it's set initially in northern China, and then I think the main character travels down to Japan. And it says here that the main character is a mother seeking vengeance. So this sounds very good, and I really, really hope I love it. I love this cover. It's just absolutely stunning. So I can't wait to read this one. And then finally, the last book on this list is The Rachel Incident. And this is about a woman who I think got into a relationship with her professor at uni, and it's kind of giving me My Dark Vanessa vibes, but not quite as gross as that, maybe. It's still probably going to explore inappropriate relationships and power dynamics, maybe. It says here that it's an all-consuming love story, but not the one that you're expecting. It's unconventional and messy, it's young and foolish, it's about losing and finding yourself, but it's always about love. Rachel falls in love with her married professor, and her best friend James helps her devise a plan to seduce him. But what begins as a harmless crush soon pushes their friendship over its limits. Over the course of a year, they will find their lives ever more entwined with the professors and be faced with impossible choices and a lie that can't be taken back. So I'm very much looking forward to this. I thought this was going to be nominated for the Women's Prize, and that's why I initially picked it up, but it wasn't. And I'm not mad because I haven't read it yet, but hopefully it's really, really good, and maybe I can comment on whether it should have been nominated in something else's place. Yeah, looking forward to that, and that's the only non-sci-fi or fantasy book on my TBR. So that is everything. Like I said, this TBR will be changing up a little bit because I will be reading for Dua's 24-hour readathon, which I'll be doing sprints and a vlog for, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I might try to slip some other genres in there, but basically I am really in the mood for fantasy and sci-fi, and I really want to crack on with that while I'm in the mood for it, because I've got, like I said, so many fantasy and sci-fi books on my shelf behind me that I'm dying to read, and I'm going to take advantage of this mood while I can. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you'll be reading in April in the comments down below, and have a lovely Easter if you're celebrating. Have lots of chocolate, even if you're not, and I'll speak to you all in the next video. Bye.